Welcome to Education Forum. I'm Herman Badillo, Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the City University. The improvement of education affects all New Yorkers. This program will focus on the key educational issues and challenges before us all. My guest today is Joyce Coppin, who is the Superintendent for the Brooklyn High Schools of the Board of Education of New York City. She is a graduate of the City College of New York, majoring in education. She has been a teacher, a district superintendent, and has worked in many capacities in the Board of Education. And for the last 13 years, she has been the district superintendent for the Brooklyn High Schools. Now, tell us how many high schools there are and how many students do you have?
Well, Brooklyn has 27 high schools, my part of the high school division. 27 high schools, 55,000 students, and about 5,000 employees in various different categories. Have a budget of about $105 million.
Now, most people don't understand the structure of the Board of Education because they read about district community superintendents. And they don't appreciate that the community superintendent only has jurisdiction over elementary schools and middle schools. And the high schools are a separate district altogether.
That's
right?
correct.
And that's what you have.
Yes, there are 32 community school districts, and there are 6 high school districts. Manhattan, Bronx, Queens, all separate superintendencies. Brooklyn is divided. I have most of Brooklyn. The superintendent who has Staten Island has a little piece of Brooklyn. So we call that basis, Brooklyn and Staten Island high schools. And then there's an alternative superintendent who supervises alternative school programs and some schools.
Well, we at the City University are particularly interested in the high schools of the Board of Education because it is the graduates of the high schools who come to us at the City University. And as you know, we just recently came to an agreement with Chancellor Levy where we will be having a program that we call College Now implemented in all the high schools beginning in the 9th grade. But we started that program with you in Brooklyn many years ago with Kingsborough Community College.
Oh yeah, that was a very exciting time. President Leon Goldstein called me into his office one day and said, you know, I have this great idea about working with some high school seniors and some teachers from the high schools, and that way we'll make the transition to college seamless. And we started with 2 or 3 high schools. And at the current time, I have College Now in almost all of my schools. The only ones that I don't have are the very, very small schools. But we're working on that. And it's been a wonderful experience.
Well, it was very successful at Kingsborough. And the only problem that we found with it is that it covered only grades 11 and 12. Now we have agreed with Chancellor Levy and Board President Thompson to expand it to begin in the 9th grade.
Right.
Because that way, if we at the City University work with the students in the high schools, we can ensure that when they graduate, we don't have to give them remedial education. So it saves them a lot of time, and it also ensures that they will be more likely to graduate both from high school and from the City University.
We're beginning in September with a pilot program which will involve 3 high schools in each one of the high school superintendencies. Each of the high schools will be working with a college, and it will involve professional development for teachers, additional assistance for the youngsters who are beginning in grade 9, and we've talked about getting involved with parents and looking at the kind of curricula that the youngsters will have in those classes. And of course there'll be a guidance and support aspect of the program as well.
We find that the biggest problem is that we have an unusually high dropout rate among Black and Hispanic students in the 9th and 10th grade in high schools. Is that the experience in Brooklyn too?
Yes, it certainly is a lot higher than I would like it to be. We've been reducing that over the years. I think there's several new initiatives on the horizon which will make that much less of a circumstance in the future. For instance, the work with the colleges is very important because the colleges, the CUNY colleges, supply the bulk of our teachers who work with our students. Mm-hmm. Secondly, the end of so-called social promotion. Right. The higher standards, the new assessments for both the elementary and middle schools. And those assessments are much more aligned with the Regents examinations. And now the Regents diplomas, right? And Regents diplomas, everybody's preparing for Regents and Norse diplomas. Yes, absolutely. We're going about teaching and learning in many different ways. We know we have to do some things differently because it's going to be very challenging to get some young people who do come to us in grade 9 behind, you know. They don't
How far behind would you say the average student is when they come to you in grade 9?
Well, it varies from school to school. I have a range of schools. I have some school where 75% of the youngsters are meeting the standards in reading and writing and mathematics. At the far end, I have some schools where fewer than 20% of the youngsters are meeting those standards. So that's quite a range, and you can't do the same thing in the schools where you have 75% of the youngsters meeting the standards as opposed to schools where you have only 20%.
So what do you do with the ones that you only have 20%?
Some interesting things. We've been looking at how do we use time with these young people? What kind of strategies can we use so that they will understand? It's sort of like a friend and I were both taking tennis, and you know, and she was a lot farther ahead than I was, and you see, I sort of needed remedial tennis. Mm-hmm. And so I needed more time, more lessons, a teacher who could break it down for me. In a sense, that's what we're doing with these young people who come to us.
Do you have the resources for it, though?
Well, it's a matter, no, we don't have enough, absolutely do not have enough. But it's been necessary for us to prioritize what we do. So take the school in which I described before, where fewer than 20% of the youngsters are meeting standards. We provide reduced class size. We provide Saturday programs, PM school. That is classes and courses that take place after the school day normally ends. We have classes in the morning. We have individual tutoring, either by teachers or with their peers. Distance learning. We've modified some of the materials that the youngsters are working with so that, you know, it breaks it down and gives them much more help.
Do the parents or the students object to the Saturday classes?
Well, they're volunteer.
Oh, good.
You know, we urge them to go to those classes, but we send letters to parents, we put it on students' programs, give them a call and say, please, you know, come and get some additional help. And we have a lot of youngsters taking advantage of that.
One of the ideas that's being talked about is longer school days. Would you support that?
For youngsters that need that kind of help, I absolutely would. When you think about it, I'm kind of doing it anyway. If I have 400 or 500 youngsters in a given school that is attending what we call PM school, which I described before, the day for them is longer. In most of my schools right now, I have what we call a 9th period. The average high school day is 8 periods. But for most of the schools where I have youngsters that need additional help, there is a 9th period. And so, yes, I would support a longer school day.
Now, we're going to have this June what the Chancellor calls summer school, and a large number of students will be left behind because of the elimination of social promotion. How do you think that's going to work out?
Well, it's going to work out fine. At the high school level, we've been doing it for quite a while.
Would you have a large percentage of students that would be left back and have to take summer school in your high schools?
Well, you know, in the high schools, it's a little different than the earlier grades. The programs of high school students are more individualized than they are at grade 3 or grade 4. For instance, a youngster takes courses in accordance with what he's passed and what he's failed. If you're in grade 9, you're in grade 9 because you haven't met the required number of courses. So in order to move from grade 9 to grade 10, you have to have 8 credits. From grade 10 to grade 11, you have to have 20. And from grade 11 to 12, it's 28. And then in order to graduate, you have to have 40. So it's possible that you can be taking the beginning course in math because you didn't pass it, but you may be grade 10 in English because you've moved along, you've progressed nicely. That's a long-winded way, I must admit, of saying that, yes, summer school is very helpful. Last year in Brooklyn, I had approximately 19,000 youngsters in summer school. And that was a large percentage of kids.
And this year you have about the same? Or
I would say about the same, yeah. About the same, give or take a couple of thousand on either side. Yeah, I'm anticipating that.
Okay, we'll be back after these announcements.
Okay.
When you mentor a child, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be yourself, which, by the way, is pretty good. Do good. Mentor a child. Call 1-877-BE-A-MENTOR.
We're back today with Joyce Coppin, who is the superintendent of the high schools in Brooklyn of the Board of Education. Now, you've already worked out some direct relationships between some of the high schools in Brooklyn and portions of the City University. For example, at Kingsborough Community College, where we started the College Now program, you have the Leon Goldstein High School. How does that relationship work?
Oh, that's been a wonderful relationship. Kingsborough High School, or Leon M. Goldstein High School, is now 7 years old. And it's a program, small, nurturing high school that focuses on mathematics and science. We've been able to share curriculum with Kingsborough. We've exchanged teachers and professors. The youngsters have an opportunity to use Kingsborough's laboratories.
They go to the college,
oh,
actually,
absolutely.
right?
They're right there, so all they have to do is...
By the way, it's a beautiful campus. There's a beach there, too, right?
Absolutely. It is wonderful. And the youngsters from the high school have an opportunity to interact with the college students, and they really feel very proud because they're going to high school on a college campus.
And we get them to, when they graduate, to go to college, too.
Well, they do go to college. The graduating classes at the Leon M. Goldstein, a fairly much all of them go to college. Many of them are so well prepared that they go beyond a community college. They go to some of the best colleges in the nation.
I wouldn't mind if they went to Brooklyn College or Hunter College or City College, but one of the problems we find is that we are so successful with the College Now program that when the students get a high school diploma, they go to other universities, not to the City University, which is really okay, but I would like to see that more of them would go to the City University. Now, you also have a high school that you work with at Medgar College, right?
Yes.
Tell us about that one.
Well, that college was started approximately the same time. As a matter of fact, we needed a college in that central Brooklyn, a high school in that central Brooklyn area. It was severely overcrowded, etc. And you know, the high school started with just some standalone buildings, and the youngsters had to go from building to building, and when it rained, they needed an umbrella. They had no gym, no library, no computer labs, and the president, and I have to give him a plug, Edison Jackson, worked with that high school. The youngsters are doing very, very well. Also a small, nurturing high school. And I'm happy to say that we're going to have a brand new state-of-the-art building for Medgar High School come September 2000. Internet in every room. It's going to be wonderful, wonderful.
Great, great. That's especially important in that section of Brooklyn.
As a matter of fact, we've worked with the professors of Medgar Evers also to restructure the curriculum, public service, giving back to the community, community development. Its focus and its themes are different from Kingsborough. So it gives youngsters a choice of the kinds of things that they would like to study. But everybody still has to take the Regents examinations, but they just have a variety of experiences.
And finally, in Brooklyn, you have a high school that works with Brooklyn College.
Yes, that's Midwood High School. That's a long-standing relationship. And Midwood is right across the street from Brooklyn College, and youngsters take courses on the campus of Brooklyn College, and particularly advanced placement courses and so on. That's a long, long relationship, very successful relationship. And as you know, Midwood High School is one of the most successful high schools in the city of New York. And it's due in large part to its relationship with Brooklyn College.
Now, you got through all our colleges in Brooklyn, and then somehow you picked up a relationship with City College all the way in Manhattan. How'd you do that?
Well, it is interesting. One day, I got a letter from an assistant principal at Thomas Jefferson High School. She says, "Dear Mrs. Coppin, you know, I've looked at the data in mathematics for the Brooklyn high schools, and I think the teachers need much more professional development. And I happened to go to City College and was part of the mathematics program there. I think you ought to call them and see if they could do something to help our teachers."
You're a graduate of City College yourself, right?
Yes. Well, that's why I took her up on the office so quickly. And City College has done some interesting things for us. When we transitioned to the higher standards, we needed to provide some retraining for some of our teachers. And so City College came to Brooklyn and provided college-level courses right in our high schools. And we retrained some special education teachers and bilingual teachers in the new mathematics standards. And they've worked with us for several years to design our professional development programs. So that's how we happen to get to City College. I'll work with Queens or Staten Island, anything to help the students and the teachers.
You know, most of our teachers, those who graduate from the City University as teachers, teach in the Board of Education. How do you find our teachers?
Well,
I mean, by the way, I think that they need improvement, so don't feel that you have to tell me that they're great, because there are some colleges that don't do so well.
Well, I think it's very important for the high schools as well as the colleges to work together.
In teacher training?
In teacher training. Not only in teacher training, in content knowledge, in subject matter, in the new technology. There are many changes that are going on in curriculum in the state of New York. One of them is, how do you use technology as a tool? And I find that many teachers who are coming out of the CUNY system are not prepared to do that. There have been changes in social studies, changes in the teaching of mathematics, and even changes in the teaching of science.
Do you think that the teachers that graduate from our schools and other schools of education should have a degree in the subject matter which they teach? For example, if they're going to teach mathematics, they should specialize in mathematics? Or do you think that they should have just a general degree in teaching? Or should they have a combination of both?
I think they should have a combination of both. Teachers who thoroughly know their subject matter are much more able to explain, to work with students who don't have a thorough understanding of the subject. They are, I find them to be much more creative in their approaches to teaching the subject, able to guide kids to discover the knowledge on their own. However, you still need some strategy, some teaching strategies.
You were a teacher yourself, right?
Yes.
And what did you teach when you taught? And what grades?
I taught the 6th grade, even though I'm in high school. But I just found, even as a 6th grade teacher, I had to know the subject I was teaching. But I also needed some strategies to help my students learn. You could be a brilliant mathematician, but you still need, how do you get kids to work together? How do you get kids to think for themselves? How do you help youngsters to break down a problem so that they can solve it? That's what you learn through the teacher education program.
Now, the ethnic composition of the students in Brooklyn has been changing and continues to change, right? Because you have a new immigration coming from other parts of the world. What are the most recent immigrants, and how is the ethnic composition changing?
Well, again, it's changing in certain areas of Brooklyn. In the southern tier of Brooklyn, I have had recent immigrations of Russian students, Asian students, and students from the Eastern European countries. In certain areas of Brooklyn, more in the central parts, I have large numbers of youngsters coming from Haiti and from Guyana, from the Caribbean. Some areas in Bushwick, at one time I had large numbers of students of Puerto Rican background. I have recently received large numbers, significant numbers of students from the Dominican Republic and from Mexico.
And we expect that those migrations will continue.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And how do you find those students?
Well,
in terms of being able to get them up to date with the other students who were born here?
All of those students are given English as a second language courses. Where we have significant numbers of students, 20 or more, in a particular grade, we do provide bilingual studies. And in my superintendency, I have many bilingual programs: Spanish, Haitian, Russian, Chinese, just to name a few. One time, we don't have now, but at one time we even had Polish. See, so we work with those students. I find them very eager to learn.
Unfortunately, we're out of time, so thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you.
You can reach us by email at our website, www.cunytv.cuny.edu, or write to us at CUNY TV, 365 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10016. We look forward to hearing from you.